Welcome, everybody. Here. Let's go ahead and get started. So we are here just because we've been here quite a bit recently, but just to orient, we're here to get ready for the fall semester of the IPED course. These are the students that are returning from the spring semester. So this is my mic is on. They're returning from their spring semester and they're second year students now, which is very exciting for them and for us. And so we're going to be spending time today getting oriented to what the course is looking like for the fall semester, and then give you all primarily some time to spend thinking about your teams. So here's our agenda. We're going to spend a little time on some introductions because it's always nice to hear who's in the room, and then I'm just going to remind you about some of the resources that we have with respect to the course materials and your faculty-specific resources. Then we're going to dive into some team performance review. We have some data for you that we want to share with you today, and we're going to ask you to look at it during our session today, and then also do some follow-up in preparation for meeting with your teams next week. Give you some opportunity to plan with your co-facilitator or co-faculty member if you have one. And then we're going to demo some Canvas stuff. Michelle's going to lead that part. And then we've got some reminders to wrap up. So that's where we're heading for the afternoon. Let's start with introductions. And so we've got a lot of folks in the room. And so I'd like to suggest that what we do is simply cover name, profession, kind of work that you do, and then whether you're returning or new for this semester. Okay? Lonnie, how about you start? Oh, wait, before I have you start, sorry, please use the mic. As I've said before, the mic this is like the UN, so you have to lean towards the mic, press the button, a little red piece will light up right underneath the microphone, and you have to hold the button, and if you talk too long, it'll cut you off. So, Lonnie.
Okay, I'm Lonnie Johnson. I'm the Associate Dean of Clinics in the School of Dental Medicine. So obviously I'm a dentist. I'm a periodontist by training, so that's gum diseases. And I've been here longer than some of you have been alive, so.
But you're returning as a facilitator.
I'm returning from the spring, yeah.
You have to hold on to the button.
Oh, sorry, hard act to follow. My name is Lindsay Yates. I am new to CU about a year, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Restorative Dentistry at the School of Dental Medicine, and I'm returning since the spring.
Hi, I'm Catherine Lee. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Pediatrics and the section of infectious diseases, and I am returning.
Hi, I'm Agatha Nwagu, and I'm adjunct faculty. I'm a pharmacist by profession, and this is my first time. I'm new, so thank you.
Steve Bartlett, I'm a research pharmacist at the VA and do a lot of IRB work at the university and for the VA, and I've been here a while.
My name is Carl Barnes. I'm also at the VA. Primary care, internal medicine, and I'm returning from spring.
Right at the top here, maybe?
I'm Daniel Goldberg. I'm faculty here in the Center for Bioethics and Humanities, and like Lindsay, I'm pretty new. I've been here about a year, and my faculty appointment's in family medicine.
Oh, hello, I'm Ken Durgans. I'm an associate dean for diversity and inclusion, School of Dental Medicine. I'm a psychologist by trade, and this is my first time.
Hi, I'm Manisha Bhide from Internal Medicine. I'm returning to interprofessional education.
Carrie Franson, Associate Dean for Professional Education at the School of Pharmacy, and I'm returning.
Make that sound so ominous.
I'm returning!
That's better. This is my partner, that's why I had to give her hard time. I'm Heidi Tyrrell. I'm with the School of Dental Medicine. I'm faculty. I run the Heroes Clinic over there, which provides care to veterans. And I am a new IPED facilitator. Carrie.
I'm Warren Streck with Kaiser Permanente, chief pharmacist over there, and I'm returning.
I'm Michelle Colorelli, and I'm the instructional designer and curriculum manager for IPE and a returning facilitator.
Mindy Reynolds, faculty with College of Nursing, specializing in mental health, and I am returning.
Rich Penaloza, I am returning, and I'm from the Division of Internal Medicine.
My name is Michelle Loader. I'm a PA. I work over the hospital, take care of patients with liver disease, liver failure.
And I'm Roxana Naderi. I'm an assistant professor through the Department of Hospital Medicine. I'm a hospitalist at the University Hospital.
Turning from the spring.
Hi, I'm Kim Indavina. I'm a internal medicine hospitalist physician at Denver Health, and I'm returning.
You have to hold it down. Hold the button down.
I am Patricia Hine. I am an associate professor of physical medicine and rehabilitation, and I do research on health services outcomes, and I am also returning.
Hi there, my name is Savannah Young Norris. I'm a communication facilitator at the Center for Advancing Professional Excellence, and I'm new.
Hi there. I'm Jenna Reno. I'm a postdoc at Accords, and I'm returning.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Brandenburg. I'm in the Division of General and Internal Medicine in the Department of Medicine at the School of Medicine, and I'm returning as Jenna's partner.
I'm Amy Nordencraft. I'm physical therapy faculty and returning.
I'm Sharon Jordan, physical therapy faculty, returning.
Button.
My name is Patrick Luna. There we go. Yeah. And I primarily do clinical education for nurses over at University of Colorado Hospital. And I'm also an affiliate faculty at the College of Nursing. And I am brand new. That's why I didn't know how to work the microphone.
Hi, I'm Laylee Pedro, and I'm associate professor at the College of Nursing, and I'm returning too.
I'm Linda Faust, and I am a general internist. I am returning, and I'm from Boulder.
I'm Don DiDomenico with pharmacy. I'm retired, and I'm returning.
I'm Larry Abbott. I'm a retired dentist and dental professor. I guess you'd call that I'm unemployed, happily so, and I'm returning.
Hi, I'm Greg Whitehair. I am an attorney in private practice here in Denver and have been interested in the medical stuff for a long time, and I am recycled.
Thank you. I always find it heartening to just hear our breath, and I just wanted to call out dentistry. I think is starting to percentage representation. So thank you all for your work in that. It's much appreciated. Here's what we want to do today. Spend a little time getting to know each other, more than just introductions, I hope. Get ready, because it's happening next week. And then spend focused time on this third role that we have. So we want you all to be promoters of interprofessional education, both for the students that you're working with and your colleagues in the university at large. We want you to be skilled facilitators in the team-based learning process. And that is an ongoing developmental piece, I think, for most of us. But we've also then upped our game and said we want you to be a coach for the teams that you'll be. We're going to spend some time with some data from your teams to help give you things to coach about. That's our frame for today. And this is, again, sharing the structure of our different roles. And I think that we've tried to provide you with resources that help for each of these. And so as a reminder, we sent you the syllabus of the course. And so in order to be a good facilitator, you do need to know what the structure of the course is. And so please encourage you to take a look at that. Those of you that are new and joining, we had also sent you that facilitator guide, which sort of annotates your end of it. If any of you all returning facilitators still would like to see that, please let us know. We've been sending it to you every time we saw you and thought maybe we don't have to send that to you anymore. But if you've lost it and want that again, please let us know. The manual tells you specific things that are also in the syllabus, but your role in terms of monitoring the RAP process, if there's any concerning behavior in the classroom, whether it be cheating behavior, unprofessional behavior, things like that, we'll give you a little bit extra help on that. Other things that we have for you today as materials are your facilitator pairings. You might notice some of you, there's been a couple of shifts. We've had a couple people change and some new folks join in. So we're excited for that. But this is the plan for the rest of the semester. So your pair or your solo piece, the way it's going to be. All right. And we want to give you some time today to connect around that. Those of you that are independent, we'll have you join with some of the other independent faculty and also do some of your own processing together. Yeah, I think on this sheet, you also have your room location. My understanding is that the room locations are pretty darn set this year. So there won't be that many swaps, but if there ever is a swap during the semester, RECE will send you an individual email informing you about it. She will also inform your teams through Canvas about it. You all didn't pick this up. Anybody need this little diagram? Okay. That's your reference there. The other things that we haven't printed out, but they're available for you on Canvas, and they're at the back of the syllabus if you prefer to look at it in that route, are all of our contacts. So as a reminder, IPE is sponsored by all the different health professions programs that participate in IPE. And so we have a council of members that, that represent their programs. And so if you as a faculty member in a particular room have a problem with a student in a particular program, you can certainly always come and talk with me about it from a course director standpoint. But if it's something that you feel may be best suited for the program to address, if there's a student safety issue, a student mental health issue, you know, what have you, feel free to reach out directly to the program representatives. So to that end, I'd like actually the people that are program representatives to please stand. So we've got, this is confusing right here, just putting it out there, but Amy from PA, we also have Amy from PT. We've got Lindsay from dental, Carrie from pharmacy, I'm the rep for medicine. Who are missing? Nursing is Karen Gorton, so she doesn't facilitate, but we can get into contact with her right away. And then we also have representatives, thank you all, from the programs that are not fully on the council, but still have students participating. For example, the anesthesiologist assistants, we have a representative listed for that group as well. We do not have any public health students this term. So they were electively a part of this, but there's none of them that are participating this fall. Okay, we also have student representatives. And those student representatives are the same ones that started with us last fall, actually. And we have several years of representatives from every program. But the students that are currently active in the second year class are the ones that are probably the best contact. So those are the students that, if you're getting a sense that there may be something happening within a particular program and you want to psych it out, not perhaps just with the faculty representatives, you could also reach out to the student representatives. They are resources for you. Other things that we provided for you in advance were some documents that we've developed over the years. One was this I Teach observation feedback form. And that is essentially a listing of some of the basic skills for TBL facilitation. That is what we used when we were first starting up learning TBL, and we had people come and help observe all of the teams to make sure the faculty were on board with this skill set. I encourage you to think about using that as a reference as well as a checklist for yourself. Are you doing the things on that list? Is there something on that list that you think you could improve on? If you feel like you need some specific help in any one of the TBL specific strategies, let us know. We'd be happy to arrange for, assuming some flexibility, some observation I could observe, or maybe some other folks within our community could observe. We can also invite the Academy of Medical Educators. I teach faculty, several with which are very familiar with TBL, to come and do a observation. The point of that is to help you. So you would set the goals for that and say, I'd like to work more on this. Can you observe and tell me, have feedback for me? That's a resource to you all that I want to make sure you know about. If you're interested in that, please reach out to me and then I'll help to arrange it. The other thing that we provided you ahead of time was a coaching tips document. And this is something that we developed last year, and Shaima Basha from the Cape, who helps to oversee the communication coaching that you're a part of, right? They have a very robust system of briefing, debriefing, giving structured feedback as coaches. And so we help to co-opt that in some regards for our own purposes in IPED. And so that is a resource helping to distinguish the different roles between facilitator and coach and provide you with some tips. So if you haven't looked at that in a while, we encourage you to do that as you prepare for the semester. And it gives you some instructions on what to do in perhaps difficult scenarios with teams or individual students. All right, so those are some of the resources that we're providing. The other thing for today is we have a version of our learning objectives for the fall semester. That was one of the handouts that we didn't send it by email in advance, but it's here for you today to pick up. It's a reminder of some of the information that's in the syllabus, which is the specifics of our course outcomes, as well as our learning objectives by various competency domain. And then it lists out the learning objectives and the session outcomes for each individual session. So this is a snapshot of where we're going for the fall semester. For those of you that are new and joining us in the spring, we also had 8 sessions, started off with introducing teamwork and collaboration, basic skills, moving into some ethics and introducing ethical concepts, as well as the 8-step process of ethical analysis, and then transitioned into sessions on safety and quality in terms of patient engagement and blanking. Oh, systems-based care, so like root cause analysis. I'm like, I should know this one, right, Amy? So that was our first semester, and so they got a smattering of information in the basic science of safety, quality, values and ethics, teamwork and collaboration, with the hope that we're providing them with some background that they could then bring to the fall semester. Very specifically in the fall semester, we're going to be spending time on further team development, and that we're going to spend a little more time on that today too, getting ready for that. Move into conflict management, hopefully in a way that the teams have refined what they want to work on, and then we will raise it up a notch for them. And then we link into values and ethics with conflicts of interest and abuses of power, justice and access. And then we return to content in terms of safety and quality around quality improvement and culture of safety. Pull that into advocacy and assertions and understand the need for the culture of safety and then how to actually do it from a communicative teamwork standpoint. And then we end with the capstone. Capstone is where we have cases that, or a case that the teams will work on that pulls all of their skills together. So we have information in the syllabus about the capstone. It's not a secret. It's okay if you all, during the course of the semester, want to start talking about it a little bit and saying, you know, in your final session, you're going to be doing the capstone. Like, you don't have to force it, but if there's a moment that comes up, it's fine to say, oh, this skill, you're going to be using this again in your capstone. You know, that kind of thing would be fine to encourage them about. Okay, any questions about where we're heading in terms of the basic concepts for this fall semester? All right. So let's move on now then to information about team development and performance. Okay, so again, these are our roles. We've got the coaching role, the facilitating role, and always promoting IPE. This is a more fleshed out version that Amy Nordencraft helped to create. One of the ways that we have chosen to work on the coaching role and to provide feedback both to teams and by using a particular measure called the team development measure. And just to remind you, in our sessions 1 and 2 of the spring, we dove into these 4 different components of this measure. We spent time specifically talking about cohesiveness, communication, role clarity, and then also goals and means clarity. So our curriculum has evolved in part to align with some of these general concepts because we're finding them to be useful for our work. Now, as a measure itself, this is complicated in terms of the slide, but when teams rate themselves on their performance as a team, it actually can be used in this progressive scale. So the idea is that when the teams start to form, they might have a little bit of cohesiveness and starting to work on communication, but it takes a little time for them to then understand what their roles might be and then how they actually can get to accomplish a task appropriately together. So we imagine that and have seen that the students, for the most part, start in the beginning not knowing too much of this, but then over time they progress. And so the teams we're seeing at the end of, say, the spring semester achieving this, solidification is the terminology that we use of some of these basic skills. Okay, so they build them and then they have to solidify them. And anytime there's a team problem, conflict, if there's a change in the team member, then there's the opportunity for the teams to slip back a little bit or to really clarify whether they actually have solidified skills or not. So our hope is that our teams at the end of the course have started to solidify. I mean, they would have had 16 different times to get together and do work together, and that should be a reasonable amount of time for teams to solidify. They're obviously in the classroom setting, it's not the clinical setting, but this is still a good opportunity to hone those skills in a safe way. So we're using this model and helping our teams develop. Part here in the first couple of years. So this is what I think we are looking at for this fall. So we have ongoing team development with hopefully by the capstone, some culmination of some of their skills, not just from the knowledge and the practice that they've had, but also the team processes that they've developed. So we're going to have these various sessions that give them more information, more background, more practice in order to get to that capstone stage. So then what's your job as the coach? This is, again, that third part that I want to focus on a little bit today. So we want you to know where your teams are, find out where they want to go, and then if needed, help them get there. I always think about like the coaches that are the difference in sports between coaching t-ball and something like the national leagues. Like there's a big difference in what the coaches actually do. Ball setting, the coaches are like putting out all the stuff, and they're the one that are probably putting the ball repetitively back on getting the pants up, helping them go to the bathroom. Like there's a lot of things that you're doing in t-ball that you're not going to be doing in the nationals. And I think the same thing goes for these teams. We're not taking them to the restroom, right? They're past that. Hopefully, right? But some teams might need or direct coaching. In that case, we want to make sure that you all are ready and prepared to do that. But I would hazard that most of the teams actually are doing well developing on their own and need an appreciation for the importance of continuing to develop their skills. So what you might be doing is just nudging them along to have even further goals and to move towards them rather than setting the goals for them or directing them as to how to achieve them. Just to get them to move forward. So we have some data to try to help you with this. And here are the 2 data points. So some of these you may have already looked at a little bit before, and that would be the team development measure results themselves. So we had the students take the team development measure, TDM, at the end of their second session, which is when they're introduced. By that time, they've been introduced to the 4 different concepts or components of team development. And then they also did at the end of the 8th session. What we also have is this self-assessment and peer assessment rating that's called CAPME, or the Comprehensive Assessment of Team Member Effectiveness. Now, this is something that we haven't shared with facilitators in the past, and so this is new for us to share this with you. And I'm going to go through some of the specifics of each of these so that, that you can sort of heighten your understanding of them as well as think about applying them for your teams. So I'm going to explain something and then hand these out. First thing is in the team development measure, there are 2 main reports. The first one is a longitudinal report, and that's what I have for you today because it's the easiest thing to look at. And it will be able to show you both the ratings after session 2 and session 8. So you get to see that in one fell swoop. And that sort of gives you a general sense of where your team is. The other is there's more detailed reports, and those are on Canvas. And we're going to show you or remind you how to find those when we do that Canvas demo later. But those of you that are returning know that we had asked you to look at these last year at this same session, at the beginning of session 9. And it was, I think it happened a little bit, maybe some, not sure. But now's the time that we really want you to be able to look at these in a bit more detail so that you can help your teams move forward. I'll give you an example of this. If I was in a room, it wasn't a room that I was with normally last year for session 9. And there was one team that had pretty significant differences amongst the team members' ratings of their team. Imagine if you all are a team and Warren's like, our team is the best. Like, we rock, we're awesome, we're just terrific, we're terrific. But Manish is like, people aren't listening to everyone's voices are not heard. And so you can actually numerically see the differences between team members using this rating scale. And so this team that had that type of difference, that type of mixes of agrees or disagrees, notable differences between the team members, they were not going to touch it. So I was in the room, they were talking about their team performance, and they just weren't bringing it up at all. So I knew as a facilitator, I had to say, what about this? How come some of you rate it high and some of you rate it low? What does that mean? And it had them refocus and actually do the deeper dive that they needed to. And they came up with some really tremendous decisions about how they're going to work together for the rest of the semester. So we want to make sure that teams do that level work. And it could be that it's only by your prompting that they'll go there. They might go there on their own. That would be terrific. But we need you to be prepared to actually prompt them if they have to go there. Sense? Okay, so I'm going to hand these packets out. Just so you're not too confused, there are several things. I think it. Oh, I was going to have it. Yeah, it's fine. That works. What's in here are 3 different things. Okay, so one is just your team roster. So it has a listing of all the students that you have on your team and what their profession is. That'll be in your facilitator packets as well, but we'll give it to you now in advance. The second thing is it has this longitudinal TDM report. And the third thing it has is some CAPME information, which hold off on that because I'll have to explain that before we go to that level. Okay, all right. 30 through 33. 34 through 37. 38 through 41. 42 through 45. Your co-facilitator. 40, oh, sorry, Karen. Yeah, smart cookie. 50 through 53. That's the male slot. 54 through 57. 58 through 61. 62 through 65. 66 through 69.
How are you?
I'm just back and forth. 70 through 73. I'm a 74 through 77. '78 through 81. All right. 82 through 85. See, I knew that if I asked, just 85 through 90. The one clarification, just to make sure this is clear, you're going to see for every sheet two pieces of information for your team. The top table has a highest score and the lowest score, and the team score is the average. That's what that means. Team score is average, and then you see it for the 2 time periods, and then the individual scores below are the actual individual scores for the different members of your team. So if you're seeing like a 64 and a 59 and a 78, there's one student that was the score that they gave their team. Okay? I'm going to give you some time to take a look and talk amongst yourself, and then we'll gather again together. All right. So let's come together as a large group here. You certainly can have more time to look at this afterwards, but I just want to get some observations from you about what you're seeing about your teams. So what are the things that you're seeing that might be interesting to follow up on, or maybe strike you as perhaps what you expected? How's that for a very vague, multi-station question? What are you guys noticing? How's that? Greg.
I've got several players who rated themselves 100 the first time and the second time, and the rest of the team's down to 56, 58. Just an interesting challenge to sort of suss that out without embarrassing anybody. But my guess is they all know who 100 is. Not sure 100 knows who he or she is.
Well, so let me just clarify. So the 100 on the team development measure is how they're rating their team. So there are some individuals that are rating their team as, we are the best. We've already handled all of our skills. We're great. We've done everything perfectly. That means that there's some students who feel that way about their team, or potentially don't want to rate their team honestly, or don't like to rate anything low ever in their life, or I don't know. So there's lots. So, and then Greg, what you're also bringing up is that at the same time that you have some students that are rating their teams at 100, there's also some that are rating them at 50, which is a big difference. Are any other folks noticing that about their teams? Are there some ranges like that too?
I have 100 and a 22.
100 and a 22. Now, just to remind you, so the column, there's two dates. One's the sorry. So one is in February, when they're just learning what these concepts mean. And the other is at the end of session 8, which is in March. It doesn't sound like very long, but it is long in terms of IPED. And they would have more exposure with their team. Their team would have had to do more. And so you would think that the second one might be more accurate, and or it might actually show the development or shift, or it might show worsening of behavior or some, yeah. So if this is session 8 that showed that, then you've got a team that's got some very different perspectives. Other things that you're observing. Any other things? Is anybody noticing a shift up a little bit?
I think I see a very slight shift up. I was surprised it wasn't as steep a shift, but definitely a little bit.
I think it's part of the value of the way that the measure is developed, that it actually shows that high, low, and mean. If we just looked at the mean, we would be missing a lot of information about how the team is viewing. Now, it's not to say that having a team, having all members rate their team exactly the same is our goal. However, if there are significant differences in the team in terms of their understanding about how their team is performing, then there's probably some meat there that needs to be worked on. Anything else that you all are noticing that we should talk about in the large group? Right.
Can you share on the yellow highlighted self-assessment? Okay,
that's coming next. Yep. I need that one. That one's going to take a lot more description. So, okay.
Let me just ask, what would your strategy be if you have 100 and a 22, or I have a 185 and a bunch of 56s, right? So, and they didn't change one place to the next, the 56s. They're like, we suck like we used to.
So this is what I would suggest, is that your next step is to go into Canvas and take a look at the more detailed reports that we have. And I would say at this point, you've gotten the gist of it. I'd probably just focus on session 8. If you have to cut your time, it's okay to just focus on session 8, but you can look at session 2 if you'd like. And so in session 8, one of the things that we're going to ask the students to do as preparation, because they're going to look at the same data that you're looking at right now, we're asking them to identify their greatest strengths, their greatest opportunities, And then also the differences, like what you're seeing between the ratings. And so I want you to see those two. So does it give you more information to know that the question that where there is such a difference has to do with, does everyone have voice and is able to speak up? Or does it have to do with, we all stay on time and get our tasks done? But you need the nuances beyond the numbers of like what potentially might be driving those differences. And you'll be able to see that in the distributions, the items of on the TDM survey. Okay, so first step is to go dig deeper to try to figure out what might be the issues that, that the teams are telling themselves and us that there's some discrepancies. I would guess that there's not going to be that many items where there's a lot of low scores, except for maybe the ones about managing conflict, because we haven't really talked about that much. We haven't put them in too much conflict, so they're probably appropriately rating themselves a little bit lower on that. But that's unlikely to be something that you all will have to address, but it could be. One, get the data about what are those discrepancies, and then two, when you're in the room, know that about each of your teams and be ready to jump in and push if needed. Ask them to do this and they could right off identify it. You don't have to say a thing. Okay? They might just go that way because I've seen teams do that. It's sort of the same thing of like, you've got all this feedback you have to give a student and then you hold it in and say, how do you think you did? And then the student's like, oh, I got to do this better and blah, 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 and I did great on this, and and then you're like, now I can just add a little bit of icing on top. So that very likely will be your experience, but you need to be ready to step in and prod them. The other thing is that this work that we're asking them to do is not going to be tested by a rat. We're asking them to do this pre-work and be prepared and enter things into a Google form, give us everybody's individual sense of what the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities are. But if they read the fine print, they're going to figure out that they don't have a rat. That might mean that they are not prepared for this first session. The other thing you may have to be ready for is if they aren't prepared, if they didn't do their work well, that you need to actually say, go to the data. You need to be familiar enough with the data so you can make sure that they're getting to where they need to be. Okay? That help to answer the question, Greg? Okay. So here's the questions that I would like you to ponder as the coach here. So what are those areas that your teams need to work on? You need to get to this. We'll send you these PowerPoints afterwards, so you don't have to write. How might teams improve the experience for all of their team members? As we've seen those discrepancies. And then how might the report data actually help your teams improve? Are there some specific things and skill sets that they've identified themselves that they need to work on? Now, a true coach asks the teams, earner in front of them, what do you want to set as your goal? Where do you want to go? And so we are still enabling the teams to do that. You may have many more things that you want them to improve on than they choose, but that's okay. If they choose one thing and they're moving forward in that this semester, that's all right. All right, are we good on TDM? Enough to go to Canvas and actually look at those reports. All right, I had a break scheduled. Let's actually do it. So let's take 5 minutes and stretch a little bit, and then we're gonna start up again. I guess it's a 7-minute break. We're not quite at 4. So we'll start again 4 promptly, okay? Yeah, we'll All right, so let's gather back together. We're going to switch gears now and talk about the yellow highlighted sheet, which is the CATME structure. So let me tell you a little about CATME, because except for it being in the syllabus, US facilitators really haven't seen much of this. So CATME is a self and peer assessment tool that many people use across the country, including folks that do team-based learning, because one of the tenets of team-based learning is to be able to provide peer feedback regularly. And so this particular structure in CATME includes 5 different categories or domains. And so in contrast to TDM, where the individuals are rating their team and how their team is doing, this is them rating themselves and each other individually, okay? So students are doing peer assessment. And so they are assessing each other on how well they contribute to the team's work, how well they interact together, if they keep the team on track, whether their peers and themselves expect quality work, like go the distance in terms of doing good work, and whether they actually are bringing the relevant knowledge, skills, and attitudes or abilities to the session. So the way that this works, I think it's important for you to know, is that these categories are descriptive. So when the students go in to rate themselves and their peers, they see behavioral anchors. So they see descriptions of behaviors at various levels. So they see like really a description of terrific interactions with teammates, a description of like, yeah, it's pretty good, it's fine. And then a description of like not very good interactions with teammates. And then what they have to do is say, where do I fit on that? You know, I'm at the top level, I am in between the top and the middle, am I in between the middle and the bottom? So there ends up being a 5-point scale that they rate themselves and each of their peers. So it's a pretty big endeavor to actually rate each of your peers on each of these 5 categories. And then what do the students get back from this? So after the session, the evaluation peer assessment closes, they get a notification. This is all like an external email structure. They get a notification that they can go in and review their results. And what they see are 3 things, but it's all on one page. They see their own self-rating, again, across those different behavioral anchors. They see the average rating of their teammates, all their teammates. And they see the ratings that all of their teammates gave of them. Not individual, but they see like an average rating that they get from all of their teammates. So essentially they're looking at how do they perceive themselves, how do their teammates perceive them, and how is their team perceived in general. It's actually a pretty nice opportunity to do some comparative analysis. Okay. Now, this is, you know, for every individual student, lots of different data. Not ask you all to go into Canvas and look. We don't post this to Canvas. It's personal data for the students. But what we do have for you today is a view of your teams in general, and it's in a rather base structure here for you. We just have printouts that are highlighted. And it just has to do with, like, it comes in an Excel sheet and team 1 and team 9 and 10 and 11. Anyway, so this is what we have for you. But we want to give you a snapshot, and this is for your eyes only. This is not something that we want you to, in contrast to the team development measure, that we want to have you go to your teams and say, hey, I noticed on your team that everybody rated this person low. Why is that? Like, that's not what we're doing here, okay? So please, this is for your own information. It might help you guide the team, but this is not for individual student contact, okay? I'm not going to there yet. So what you're going to see in front of you is a sheet of paper, or a couple of sheets of paper, which the highlighted portions are your teams. And you're going to see the last name of the team member, the number of the team, and then you're going to see the ratings, the average rating for that individual student across these 5 different categories. Okay, so this is different than what the students see, but this gives you a sense. So if you look at them, again, we're going on a scale of 1 to 5. So 5 would be sort of the perfect rating from all of the peers in that domain. So looking across all the teams, we're generally in the 4s, okay? But there are some 3s. And if a student has a 3 as an average, it means that some people probably rated them a lot lower to bring that average down. Now, our students do this without it contributing to their grade. We're honest. It also doesn't contribute to their grade, so maybe they don't take it as seriously as they should, and they're not as honest as they should be. So we don't really know how powerful this measure is, except that we do know that it sometimes can tell us some outliers. So if there's students that are rated quite low by their peers, then that is potentially a concern. But what you're going to see is this range probably in the 3s to 4s, and to give you a good sense of the fact that for the most part, your students are doing well individually across these different content domains. And there may be some variation, but for the most part, they're doing well. Yes. The mic, please, so we can capture the question. Thanks.
What do you consider a low score? Below 4, below 3?
I don't know for sure the average across all the different teammates' ratings. If you looked at the actual behavioral anchor ratings themselves and read the description, something less than 3 would be concerning. If students aren't at least doing the behaviors that are in the CAPME at 3, so meaning something in the 2 or the 1 range. But I would hazard a guess, you're not seeing any averages that are in the 1s or the 2s. Okay. I've looked through them, so I don't think I saw any that were low. Okay, any other questions so far? I haven't described everything, but any questions on what I've described so far?
Wendy, can you just repeat again what, so let's say one of the students, there's a 4.3 for contribute to team.
Yep.
What does that mean?
Okay, so a student has 4.3 for contribute to team. That means that the average score from all the rest of their teammates, not including the student, okay, is 4.3 out of 5. So I'll get there in a second.
Can you just say what having KSAs means? Like having knowledge, skills, and attitudes? Like they have all 3 of them?
So it's knowledge, skills, and abilities needed for the teamwork. And so I don't have all the behavioral anchors right in my head to share with you, but we can certainly send that to you, show you an example of what the rating scales look like. That would have been smart to do today. Thank you. But the way that I anticipate the students have used them is that they are the information that the student needs to be an active member of the team, i.e., have they done their pre-work, i.e., can they bring information from their profession to the work of the team? Okay. Which, you know, overlaps slightly with contributions to team, but we'll for sure share with you the what that means. Okay, you guys ready for the adjustment factor? If you're overwhelmed, you don't have to pay attention to this part. Just saying. So the adjustment factor, notice that there's 2 columns here. One says W or with self, and the other one says WO or without self. So CAPME has a way of looking at overall team performance by having sort of a summary of all of these categories. And you can think about it as almost like a percentage, even though a lot of these are above 100. So the highest here is 1.05. That's the highest potential adjustment factor. And so you could multiply what you're seeing in the adjustment factor and say, this student is 100 or 100, and this doesn't make exact sense for percentages, but 103 out of 105 ready to be a good contributor to the team. They're an effective team member. The summary statement of their performance. I'm not so sure that it's particularly useful. It's a little bit too global data. Like you could theoretically look down and say, oh, well, someone had a 1.01 and somebody else had a 1.03. 1.03 must be doing better, but that's probably not very meaningful. If we had a lot more variation and we had people that the adjustment factor was a 0.8 versus a 1.0, then we might be able to make some statement about that. Not a particularly powerful thing here because there's not a lot of variability in the students' ratings of each other. For the most part, they're rating each other pretty darn well.
Wendy, is the computation of that adjustment factor important for us to know at this time?
Nope. In fact, I would say it's not particularly useful. Okay. The one thing to note is that if you look and see that there's a big difference between the one with self and without self, then that could give you a sense of the fact that a student might perceive themselves much higher than their teammates. And so when they add themselves back into that calculation, it goes up quite a bit. That might be the only potential nuance there. But we have other ways of actually showing that information too. So. Okay, so in contrast to the TDM, I don't think you're going to get as much from this data, this view, but it might give you a couple of hints about things. And so for the very few of you that have something on your team, are you guys ready to move on? Under note, so the last column says note, there's some other things that the CAPME system automatically determines for us by looking at the numbers and how they are rated. So if you have something under note, we'll explain the ones that popped up. It can provide you with some additional guidance for your team. Now, there's a bunch of very exciting things that could be under notes, and most of them aren't in here. There's one like manipulator, and there's one that's like, clicks that are forming. We didn't see any of that. So, but what we did see are these two, under. So if you have something that's written under, this is where their student is rated highly by their teammates, but they underrate themselves. Okay, so that's your humble servant on the team. Or it might be your teammate who actually doesn't appreciate what they bring to the team. Okay, that may not be something that is particularly high on the list of something you have to address. Not a huge issue if people don't rate themselves as highly as other people rate them. But that's what the under means if you see that on any of your teams. The other thing that we see on just a very few of the teams is conflict. This one is a little bit more interesting. And this is where there's actually a disagreement amongst the team's members about the effectiveness of another member. Now, the tricky part is that CAPME puts that distinction of conflict not by the person who actually there's a disagreement about. It puts it by the person who disagrees with other people. You follow me? So the student who has conflict listed next to them rated somebody else significantly different than the rest of their teammates rated them. Does that make sense? So they might have a conflict with somebody else. And the best way, I think, to figure that out, if you're interested, is take a look at the rest of the scores. And if you see there's another student that's maybe rated a little bit low, it's probably that it's that other student that the one that's listed as conflict is rating low. All right, so not really too useful because there's not a lot of these special notes for you all. And we're still gauging how the teams are doing with this. But we wanted to provide you with additional data on your teams to help flesh out your knowledge of them. So here are the things that I think are most relevant to our session 9 with regard to providing you with the CAPME data. We're asking the students to individually set goals for themselves based on the feedback they received from their peers through CAPME. And they are both feasible goals and stretch goals. So as you're looking at your information, you as a coach can also think about, are there any areas that these individual team members might want to work on? And might this goal setting be helpful? And do I need to be ready to step in if nothing happens in that part of the session? Okay, does that make sense? Backish right now. Slides are up there, that's right, yeah. Okay, questions about CAPME? What the heck are they actually rating each other on?
I have one. How do we, because this is their individual scores and we're aware of them and the students aren't, I guess we would just have to be very nuanced in how we would interject in some of these matters if we saw something or if we just wanted to bring it to their attention. I mean, what are some strategies to interject some of this information?
Yeah, so I would advise you to consider this as like advanced information for your team performance for the semester. It's almost like a handoff from another faculty that's saying, oh, we just had this student on this clinical block and they kind of struggled with, I don't know, gathering information or their timeliness or something like that. But then they totally got it together by the end of the thing. And so it's sort of like a little bit of information so that you can be aware to look out for if there's going to be problems coming up. But in contrast to TDM, I think it's not for us to necessarily intervene in the same time frame, okay? It's hard to know how true these ratings are, and it's hard to know if they're really gonna apply to this semester. So I offer it to you as information, nuances that you know, if you know there's a conflict and then you see something going down in the room, you're gonna be able to help out. Like, you know, how's that?
And Wendy, one of the things I did last year is I just said, for individual, just take a moment and I reminded them just to look at CAPME. So go back, do you have anything in there that it's saying to you? Then, so I just put it out there very specific. Goals, what is it that you want?
So do they know that if they have scores in the 3s, that is lower than the rest of their teammate in all probability?
So they're not seeing numbers. Just our faculty view of the ordinal scale to try to summarize things. All they're seeing is a little arrow that shows how their teammates rated them, how they rated themselves amongst these behavioral anchors. So what they're getting back from each other is essentially, and from the system, is information about how to do better at one area that they might have been lower than they're not getting this type of data.
But they are getting the feedback from the arrows, like my team rated me lower
than I rated myself, or I'm lower than everybody else on the team, and therefore, look, here's some things that maybe I can do to help improve. Yep. And so we're asking them as part of their pre-work to look at that information, to identify this feasible and this stretch goal for themselves, and to actually put themselves out there to the team and share that with their teammates. And we'll talk about what's the most common goal that we all have individually. Going to process that together. So this is this is a lot of like ratings, but there's something very important about both the individual piece and the team. What am I going to have to do differently in my interactions with the team? And then what does our team need to do differently as we move forward this semester?
So obviously we see like the under ratings and whatnot. Will that be evident to the learner that is the underrated person?
Yes. So what they're going to see that they rated themselves down low here and everybody else rated them up nice and high. So they're going to get that right away. Yeah. So that's not something you have to point out at all. They get that information. So the conflict one is no, that's not something they'll be able to see. You can see this happen in any of the student teams, but there's also the possibility that they rate themselves higher and everybody else rates them lower, or they see that their performance is less than their peers average on their team.
Do they see the adjustment?
Nope. So that like is just other statistical analysis that, yeah, so they see no numbers. All right, so we're going to move on, but I really want to encourage you to think about how this data can be part of your work as a coach this semester. And then I'm happy as the semester goes on if you all have feedback about other ways to help promote this too. This is give you more so that can help you in your role, but it may not be what you need. So you need to let us know if there's other things.
Any comment or suggestion on one of our teams? Every single member got a 5 or a 4.9.
So I think it'd be important to take a look at that team and look at their TDM. So did they all rate each other wonderfully, but then they didn't rate their team the same? Or maybe there's discrepancy in the team, but they like the people. So I think that's why I wanted to give you both of this, because it might give you some sense of how valuable, is this information. That's again why, like, this is for your eyes. It's a grain of salt information. Like, we're asking students to do this because it's a good skill, and I think it's going to be useful feedback, but unlikely to be something that you have to intervene on. Fun.
One thing, when we're doing the facilitating, we're walking around different teams and we're usually looking at how each member is performing in the team. And when I look at that and compare it to this, if you see big discrepancies, how do you handle that? Or, do you believe what you see? Believe what these...
Great question. I would believe what you see. Because this is a rating that we're asked students to do at the end of the semester. They're going to their peers, and this might be the only peer rating they've ever done. Give them information about how important it is. They may not have watched that in advance. I'm not trying to totally throw it out here, but I'm just trying to say that like what you're seeing is more important than a numerical rating here. And it could be that the students have already looked at this because we asked them to, and they might have been like, I need to up my game, or, oh, I guess I'm doing better than I thought. And they may be coming into this semester with a totally different approach and perform in a different way. And that's what's important, right? As the coach, you don't want to keep on harping on, or you want to move them forward from where they are now. All right, so we're going to wrap up this part about team development data and coaching. As a reminder, your tasks to review that TDM information in Canvas for each of your teams. Take a look at this summary that we've provided you today and look at it amongst the TDM and CATME if that's helpful. We'll provide you with more information on what is in CATME. And then be prepared to coach your teams in session 9 if needed. If they're there, you can just let it go.
Sorry, this is a really ridiculous question, but do you know off the top of your head, Wendy, where on Canvas the TDM data actually is?
And we'll show that to you in a little bit. Yep. Okay. Oh, that's the end of my slides. Look at that. All right. So we're going to do Canvas, but we've got just a little bit of time. No? What do you think? You guys need to talk amongst yourselves a little bit more about what your plans are before we go to Canvas, or we? All right. Linda, Michelle, do you want to go ahead and get ready?
Wendy, was there any feedback, or maybe I missed this, that the students gave to us as facilitators?
Yes, and it is still being worked on by Reese. So my sincere apologies that we don't have this yet. We switched to a different system, which we were hoping was going to be better. And I think I don't know if I told you guys this. No, I talked to our council about it. Okay, so here's the deal, is that we tried to be very careful about having students indicate if they didn't have enough exposure to you, because everyone had to rate everybody. Well, not everybody. They had to rate you if you were in their room. But we had a category where we wanted them to indicate if they didn't feel like they had enough contact with you that was sort of non-applicable. And unfortunately, that got as part of the rating. And so we had to pull out some of the data to be able to give you more accurate information. So we've had to redo it 3 times. And so Reese says that she believes by next Wednesday, we will have it out to you though. And what I can tell you is that the comments will be useful for you. There'll probably be about a half page to a page of comments from students. You're also going to see sort of distribution of scores across. We're not going to be giving you a mean comparing you to other people because that's what got kind of screwed up. But we'll at least give you the information about your performance and how your students rated you on several different items, including working with co-facilitator, if that applied, sort of your professional presence in the room, whether you tried to help facilitate the teams to learn on their own, a couple of basic questions like that. So it's still coming, and I'm very deeply sorry that we didn't have this for you. At least today, that was our hope after we didn't get it to you in June. But here we are. It'll be as soon as it can be, and that will provide you with some other information. And we're going to be adapting our processes for this fall so that it's not going to be such a... Okay, any other questions? While Michelle is getting into Canvas, I'm going to just make a couple of other quick reminders. One is, again, please make sure to look at the materials, the syllabus. We'll be sending out the facilitator guide tomorrow for session 9. Canvas is opening at 5 p.m. unless things blow up. So I think it's happening. And we need you to look at the materials in there. That's where all the pre-work is posted. So when you get stuff from us in the email, it's not enough. If you just read that, you're going to be out of shape. So make sure you look at the pre-work, take the rats on your own, do them yourself. Don't cheat and look at the answers. Things that look crazy. Well, there's no rats for session 9, but anyway, we need you to make sure that if there's anything that looks amiss, please let us know as soon as possible. It's great when you tell us in the brief, but even better if you tell me about problems sooner so we can fix it for everybody. If you haven't, please make sure that Reese already knows if you haven't updated Reese on your availability, please do that. Using the Sign Up Genius is still the best route for her to keep track of everybody. I think one of the other pieces that Michelle's going to go through is talking through the campus. I want to make sure that you get that updated. Okay, I think that's all my reminders. You ready to go? Yep.
Hello? On what? Hello? Hello? Okay.
That's good.
So this is Canvas, obviously. I didn't really show you how to sign on. So I went to UC Denver Canvas Access, which is here, and then you can log in with your sign-in. But once you get in, I just want to show you that this is Canvas's navigation bar here on the left. And you can see I have a little picture here. This is going to take me to the profile page. This little icon here brings me to all the courses I'm involved in. This is a different kind of list for your courses. So it can be a long list like that instead of the icons. These are all the groups I'm involved in. Calendar view, inbox if you're using this to communicate with your students and whatnot. This is Commons, which we don't really use, but this one here is Canvas Help. And Canvas Help offers a lot of different opportunities for you. One thing is that there's Search the Canvas guides, and this will give you a variety of ways just to kind of access what the students need, what you need. You just click on the guides, go to the instructor guide, and type in a question that you're searching for, but it has all these different categories. So you can figure out where and how to do things with discussions, with groups, people, pages, etc. One of the best things I've used actually is chat with Canvas support. This is a really easy, quick way to get assistance. And if you click on that, it just takes you obviously to a chat line, and they're very helpful. But I also wanted to let you know that we have CU Online, and this is here downtown. And I'm going to introduce you real quick to Sarah North. She's from CU Online. And just to give you kind of an idea, Canvas is used with many different institutions. So CU Online is specific to us. So if you ever need to reach out and this little question icon, the guidebooks, the chat is not assisting you, then call CU Online. And we brought Sarah in just to kind of put a face with the place. And she has some handouts and numbers, etc., but they're really helpful as well. So to get to our course, I had a nice spring color for our spring term and this gray color for fall. As you can see, we've labeled them IPED 1 and IPED 2, and they have different course numbers. Click on that, it'll take you to the home page. Pretty much the same as last term. We actually have embedded links for the syllabus, modules for helpful information and frequently asked questions, etc., just to kind of orient them. But all of this can be found in the left navigation bar for the course. As Wendy mentioned, the syllabus is really important and useful. We post it in a variety of different ways. One, you can click on it and just download it, save it to your computer if you want. And the other is you can view it right here in this manner. So lots of information. Everything's titled pretty well. And then we extracted a lot of these categories and put them into the frequently asked questions. Just so you know, all of our student reps are listed, IPE leadership, the schedule, and basically all the things Wendy was referring to for RAT processes, etc., what we expect from them in the classroom. Announcements come every so often. There's going to be one in the morning going out just to remind them that this is opened. We're about to publish it. We just want to do our last run through. But we have modules for helpful information, which give the fall schedule, different ways of looking up whatever you need. Click these little guys and drop the menu down or collapse it. Frequently asked questions are a lot of the questions that the students will come up with. you can always refer them here, but it's also nice just to have some ideas of what they may be asking you. I also started building a TBL toolbox that kind of gives you or them some information on TBL, tidbits, all about the rats, references, etc. So TBL toolbox is a little bit different than our IPED toolbox. So far, we have some pages that are specific to teamwork and collaboration, like our brief checklist that we use every day in our sessions, our debrief checklist, the team roles and responsibilities sheet, everything we were just kind of going over for the TDM, and a guide for reviewing that TDM. Values and ethics, we have the codes of ethics as a resource, and we're going to eventually put up the rubric as well once we get that finalized. As you know, we're in session 9 right now, and so we always start with an overview that gives you what the session outcome and the learning objectives are, and just, you know, you can always hit next for the next page. There are all the items there to do for the pre-work. Now we are having them do what color is your brain quiz so that we can kind of do an icebreaker. We're having them, as Wendy mentioned, check into their CATME results and their TDM results. One thing that's quite different about this session is that instead of rats, we're having them fill out a pre-session survey. And I'll show you that in a little bit, just what the Google form will look like and the fact that they can actually look up their results in class and start working for that when we get the assignments in. Real quick, I'm going to show you what the student view is. Student view is quite different than our view. And right now, because the course is not published, they see our home page and they see our syllabus page. Everything else is closed at the moment. So they're just going to keep getting results that say nothing's open yet until the module opens for them. Back in modules, we really do welcome you to explore everything, review everything. But one thing we need you to be attentive to is that you're not clicking any of these green icons over here or publishing things. So if that happens accidentally, just do it real quick back to what it was or contact us because we're not ready to publish that yet. So one thing we talked about was your access, but we also want everybody to set up a bio. To set up a bio, you go to this first icon here on the Canvas navigation bar, and you just go to profile and you edit it. So you can load a picture. We really do welcome pictures. It's really hard to remember everyone's name without a face, but you just obviously hit the edit profile and are able to write what you want. We're not asking you to write this much. I'm in a few courses that ask me to do various things. Everyone has their own access to their own files, etc. So this comes up from my other courses, but you have access to your own files as well. One thing that's tricky about Canvas is once you go somewhere like that, you're no longer in the course. So right now I'm in my area, but I'm not in IPED. Sometimes clicking backwards works. Otherwise, you have to go back to that icon here, the dashboard, and just get back into the course. Now I know I'm in the course because it's titled up here, and this gives the year. It can get really confusing for teams when they start playing with their team home pages and start moving around. Another thing just to be aware of as facilitators and faculty is that you can go to settings and you can set up all your notifications. Oh, sorry, that's under profile. Notifications. You can control how often you get information in your inbox. You can get things daily, weekly, not at all exactly. One of the downfalls of Canvas is that students can do this, of course, as well. And so they might say, we want no announcements. And the thing is, if they mark that, they're not getting our communication. They don't get it for every course that they're in. It's not like you can block announcements for one course and not all courses. So that's one thing just to be aware of. I have a lot of mine set on some daily reminders and then some set on like weekly. And it just gives you a scrolling notification that tells you what's happened in the discussions and whatnot, so you're not getting pinged every time somebody replies. Back to the course again. Now I'm going to just show you how to get to files and how to explore what the teams are seeing for their files. Files listed here is grayed out for the students. They don't have access to our files and all of our documents. They do have access to files on their team page. And the way to get there, you go to People. We'll list every student in the course. You can type a name in if you just want to focus on one person or access them in some way and find out what team they're on. But here you can go to the teams that are specific to you. So I'm on team 22. It will tell me all the students that are in team 22. And if I want to visit their home page, I just click here on the right. The home page is usually empty, but their files is where we've stored all of their individual team TDM. That makes sense? And you can switch group right here, but it tells you what team you're in, and go to the next team. Their files, and open that up.
It does make sense. I just wanted to follow up. You said this earlier, Wendy. If we were going to go back and look at team-specific data for TDM under files, you think it's better to look at the second one? Yeah.
What we had today was a longitudinal.
Longitudinal is what you already gave us, right? The printout. Okay.
This is the second one. So a different view. Yeah.
So just to describe this a little bit, at the top you'll see the distribution of scores, the histogram, so to speak, that you saw on the longitude report, okay, just oriented a little differently. But then underneath it, we have sections. So the cohesiveness section contains all the items related to cohesiveness. And then you'll look to the right and see the bar graph of the responses for the team. So for the first item, there are 7 students that responded. And so 3 of them marked agree and 4 of them marked strongly agree. Be able to look at it in that way. And all of those look pretty much in alignment. They all like being together. You You go down, you'll see that here's an item that's sort of reverse coded. So team members talk about each other team members behind their back. That would be a bad communication thing to do. And so thankfully, this team disagrees that that's what they're doing. So if you see that, it's not that that disagree is a weakness, it's that it's appropriate for that negatively worded item. And in this example, you're not seeing a tremendous variation across the ratings for these items. You want to keep on scrolling down and see if we catch one. Okay, here's one. So team has agreed upon clear criteria for evaluating the outcomes of our efforts. So there's some spread, some disagree and some agree. So that would be one of those pieces that that the team should think about working on. Okay, so that's where you're going to find your more specific data. That's what those reports look like. Any questions about that?
So I had mentioned that this week they're doing a pre-session survey, and I want everyone to be aware that this is they were each given an individual link under their own page, and so they have a Google form to fill out, and the link is specific to their team so that when we are in class, they can come to this page, their home page. They should have already filled it out before class, and they'll be able to see their results. And we kind of made a mock one just so you can see what it's like. But the Google form takes them to something like this that they've already filled out. Once it's filled out, they can look at their responses. So it can show them their distribution of the programs they're in, what color is the primary color on their team, what brain color they thought would be on their team compared to what it is. We didn't write, obviously, real goals, but they will be able to see all the different goals that each person thought they should work on. So that's going to really help with their activity in class. It makes sense how to guide them to find that. They're in their team homepage. Huh? Yep, they're in their
Questions. Got it.
Yep, they're in their own team. And the way to get out, just to know this as well, I'm in team 23s. Now I can get back to the full classroom. Yep. And so here, the discussion would be the big one. They don't have access to this big one. We see this view, but they get specific ones for their team. But they have to be in their team page to really access it. Any questions so far? Yes. So once they have done that, you will have access as well to their Google form. So you can click on that and see what their responses were as well. But I do recommend kind of checking in and, obviously with the one we just pulled up, only 4 out of 7 have filled it out so far, right? And you'll kind of have an idea of which team is going to struggle some with the activity. All right, let's see. Later in the year, we'll be talking about some grading, but right now we don't have anything to assess or show you for that. And that'll be kind of like we did last year with the rubrics. No other questions. I just really, like I said, go ahead and explore. And always feel free to send us a question if you need to, or reach out to CU Online.
Okay, so we want to introduce you to somebody from CU Online to kind of explain what are the things that they can help with, because we should be really mainly focusing on what's our content in Canvas, but if you're having trouble with navigating Canvas, etc.
Hi, my name's Sarah North. I'm from CU Online. Like Michelle said, our office is on the downtown campus, but we come over here often. So I just I brought a couple of things for you guys. And like they said, we offer support. We support faculty, staff, and students and when it comes to Canvas and any sort of educational technology, really, because we're in the Office of Informational Technology. I wanted to pass out, I don't know the best way to put them, but we have these pens that'll at least give you our website. There's a sticker that I have attached to them. It's a re-stickable, kind of removable sticker, and that has our information on it. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 till 5. So anytime in those business hours, you're free to contact us if you're running into any issues. The great thing about Canvas support is they're 24/7. And so phone, email, and chat with Canvas is fantastic if you're in the middle of the night working in Canvas and you're running into troubles. So we have that information on there. And then also Michelle had shown you that help button in Canvas too, in case you lose your sticker. The other thing too is that we offer a lot of different training, face-to-face training, webinars, and self-paced modules to kind of walk you through some of the basics and even more advanced things you can do in Canvas. So I brought this is just the trainings that we're offering this fall. These are more the face-to-face ones. The ones that are specific to the Anschutz campus are indicated on here. And we invite all of you to attend any of our trainings, even if it's just something that you're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll see what it's all about. We invite you to join us for anything that we have. If you visit our website, you'll also be able to see the self-paced modules that we have that will kind of walk you through a lot of different things in terms of Canvas, training, support, instruction, help, anything like that. So yeah, so just wanted to just come and say hello to you all and invite you to contact us with any possible questions that you have. Same with students as well. So we, of course, we support students as well if they're having any issues. They might contact you first, but feel free to send them along to us. And so we're always here to help. So.
I'm going to set these over here so if people are interested, they can pick them up on their way out. Some of the other handouts here. And if you didn't sign in when you came earlier, please make sure to sign in. Are there any remaining questions? All right. Well, thank you all very much for your attention, participation. It's going to be a great fall. I'm really excited about what we're going to do with our teams. And we'll continue to be sending you things weekly. And we will see you next week for the brief, 2 o'clock. All right. See you then. Thank you very much.